Ladies and gentlemen, right, I wish we could all have the confidence of Dean Morgan. What would you change about yourself? Well, obviously nothing aesthetically, because I'm lush.
Family show, son.
The more you fill your life full of things you love and enjoy, the less you will be inclined to do things that have bad outcomes on your life.
Hello there, episode 3 of The Head Shed. Subject of today's habits, but before we get into that, we and Sam were just discussing last night and a little something that we can do to make a laugh at the start and the finish of the episode. So we decided that we're going to do a coin toss at the start, and one of us will go first. And do you want to take over, Sam?
So what we're going to do is at the start and end of every podcast, we're going to ask each other a question, and this question can be as random and it can be as irrelevant. But neither of us can know what the question is. So what we're going to do is whoever wins a coin toss today is going to ask the question first, and at the end of the podcast, the other person goes, and we're just going to switch it up each week as to who gets the first question.
So I'm heads, am I heads, your tails?
Well, if you want heads,
if I win, then I can pick you to go first, yeah, and vice versa.
No.
So if I'm heads and it comes out heads, I'm going to go first.
Yeah.
I'll ask you the question first.
Aye.
Right,
okay, go on then. Oh. Drum roll.
Tails it is.
So...
That means you ask me one.
Bollocks. Right, I did have a funny one, but I'm going to go with it. It's not funny. This is quite a deep one, I think.
PG or not?
What?
It's a family show, son.
Right. Yes. Right. Which one do I ask? Because I've got two. One of them's not. Right. Okay. Then, right. If you could change one thing about yourself, what would it be? Oh, and why?
I've cut at the core of us there, mate. Jesus, son.
I was going to ask if you'd come and get a hair transplant with us.
I don't know. Yeah. Change one thing about myself. Get off my phone a lot more, because I will ask on berserk. Like.
I don't do that, because then you won't be talking to me. I'll have no one to talk to.
Listen to people a little bit more. I'd say. I don't think I can switch off into my old world a lot, so
yeah,
I'd probably just go that way with it.
Right.
I think I'm rather attractive. Obviously not, that's a joke, but so it's kind of maybe looks like we changed.
I'm not having that. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish we could all have the confidence of Dean Morgan. What would you change about yourself? Well, obviously nothing aesthetically, because I'm lush.
It's all up front. It's all up front.
Right, love it. That did not go how I was expecting it to go.
So yeah, so we've started the show this way, and kicking off the doors of the shed this week will be Sam. What are we going to be talking about?
What we're going to talk about this week is habits. And the reason why we're going to talk about habits is because is a problem-solving technique. Normally, I'm going into my work brain here because I solve problems. Is normally, if you're trying to get to the root cause of a problem, you pick the biggest potential cause, solve that one. Pick the next biggest potential cause, solve that one. And what we see from our groups and from talking to people and just general our own experiences, we think the biggest thing that stops people from changing and the biggest thing when people do change, what kind of contributes to that is changing habits, forming new habits, getting rid of, well, I wouldn't say getting rid of, the factor I would probably read will tell you that kind of never really happens, but we think that if we can talk a little bit how to better form new habits and the importance of forming new habits, it'll be a big thing that people could take away from it.
We're going to try and throw some facts at you as well, but before we start, so I've just got a little quote here.
All right.
Once you replace your bad habits with good habits, you can eliminate the stress and anxiety that those bad habits cause in your life in the first place.
Amen, brother.
I might put that one on the wall.
Get tattooed.
Right, so let's start off with what is a bad habit. What would you class as a bad habit?
A bad habit, it's a habit that has a negative impact on your physical or mental well-being.
Yes.
You'd think I've read that from Google, but I haven't.
You'd actually would, like.
It's genuinely straight from my head.
Because I've got the tongue, lovely that.
Because I've got plenty to focus.
So I've got a list here of some of the most common ones. Overindulging, it can be lying, too much television, nail biting, limiting to impress others, failing to say no to things that you dislike. That's a good one, that one, like, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a very good one.
You do that a lot of the time. Staying in bad or toxic situations, cutting corners to finish tasks early, making decisions while you're angry.
I mean, ones that we'd kind of classify as bad habits would be drinking too much, smoking, drugs, eating rubbish all the time, and that's a bad habit.
Poor eating's got to be one of the worst ones. It's where everything starts, isn't it?
It is. We'd all like a kebab wrap for tea every night, but it's just not good for you, is it?
Your body's just an engine at the end of the day, and if you're filling it with crap oil, you're going to feel like crap. Like,
what was that, Gillian? That woman said, "You are what you eat."
You are what you eat. It's too true. If you eat pies and pizzas all day, and you're getting a little bit of a belly, you've got yourself to blame. Like, there's not much else you can say about
that. No, you're right. I've actually got some of me my own facts and numbers that are true. So I suppose numbers that are true are facts, aren't they? So 40% of what you do on a daily basis is habitual. So nearly half of everything that you do throughout the day is something that you've done long enough for you to form a habit, whether it'll be getting up out of bed from one side, whether it'll be brushing your teeth as soon as you get up, getting a shower when you finish work, the way you drive to work, what time you have your dinner at work, what time you have your dinner on a night, what you do after work, what you do on weekends, wake up, go on your phone, all of these things, 40% of it, it's a half of 24 hours of your day. I know you were asleep through 8 of it, but all those other things.
7 or 8 hours if you're trying to not have a bad habit.
Yes.
Good habit, 7 or 8.
So all of those things, if half of those things, so you say, if you sleep for 8 hours, right, so you're awake for 16, 8 of those hours are formed of just you doing things that you would normally do without thinking. So that's essentially your subconscious kicking in and just doing all of these things. So if you've got a lot of bad habits,
yep,
then half of your day and half of your life is going to be wrapped up in these bad habits, which is ultimately going to stop you from making good decisions and living a good life and living a happy life and living a life whereby it's kind of fulfilling, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
When you break it down and look at it like that, that's when you see what the importance of forming good habits is. And another fact, I suppose it depends which studies you look at, but on average it takes 66 days to form a new habit.
Or to break an old bad one.
Yeah, 66 days. So, I mean, some people form them in 14 days, some people form them in 256, some people never form them. That is how kind of difficult it is to break bad habits and form new ones. Because forming a new habit is trying to break a bad one, but we say breaking a bad one. And actually, there's a one I read that says, you never forget a bad habit. Even if after 66, 111 or 222 days you have changed your habit, that does not mean that you have forgotten it. In fact, much points to the fact that we never forget habits. I.e., if you can drive a car, you get in a car in 30 years' time, you're going to be able to drive a car more than likely.
Yeah,
you might struggle because you've learned. It's kind of muscle memory, isn't it?
Yeah.
So there's some facts around why it's important to have good habits, and also kind of maybe something that you don't want to hear is that it's quite difficult to form new habits. It's not if you're thinking to yourself, maybe I can see what they're saying there. I glide through most of my day. I go to work, I come home, I sit in the settee on a weekend, have a few pints on a Saturday afternoon, and ultimately you're realising that maybe you don't feel great or that you want to do something to make you feel better. If you think it's going to happen next week, like you might do it next week. You might change these things. You might go to the gym every day, and you might do something very wholesome on a weekend. You might feel great. Those things that you've changed to become a habit, you're going to have to keep doing them. It's not doing them once and expecting them to do it. You're going to have to make conscious efforts, make reminders. And these are some of the things that we're going to talk about now of how you can form new habits and make sure these new things become a good 40% of your day and not a bad 40% of your day.
Yeah, definitely. I think a bad habit as well falls into that category of it is your comfort zone. Most of the things you do in a bad habit is because you're comfortable with it, and like we've said before, you'll not grow as a person, or nothing will change unless you jump out of that comfort zone. Yeah. So it's definitely worth taking that on board. But I would say most, well, I can speak for myself, or a bad habit most of the time is a negative thought on yourself, that you don't think you can be better than the habit, so you never change it.
Right.
So for me personally, I would say to get out of a bad habit is to get out of your comfort zone. Yeah. To try something new, try something that you've never tried before. We all know what the good things are in life: getting plenty of sleep, plenty of exercise. You know, not slouching about, just trying to create a better environment for yourself, mentally, physically.
Yeah.
And it's at everyone's reach. Everyone can change their habit.
It's a choice, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a choice. You're not stuck with it. However, whatever your habit is now, you're not stuck with that. We've all got the choice to change it and do something else.
An amazing quote that I love: what you're not changing, you're choosing.
Right.
So if you're feeling like shit, if you're feeling like you're not getting out of life what you want, if you're feeling like you're going nowhere, if you're feeling a bit stuck, ultimately the choice is yours. Whether you want to do something about it, whether you want to change it, or whether you want to find comfort in your discomfort, whether you just want to think, well, this is as good as it's going to get. I don't want to work any harder. I don't really want to do anything. I'm just going to live with this and accept that I'm not going to have an amazing life, or I'm not going to feel amazing. By having an amazing life, what I mean there is just having an amazing life can't really be quantified. But what I mean by having an amazing life is just feeling genuinely whole, feeling happy, living a life with a lot of love and other things in it. I don't mean like an amazing life is in jet setting everywhere. I just mean a fulfilled life. So like you say, the reason we're talking about it is
if you can find something that you enjoy to do, and you think to yourself, my old habits involved, I don't know, going to the pub or doing things you shouldn't be doing, or things that you think are all okay to do, but inside you really know, I probably shouldn't be doing this. It's not making me any better. The podcast itself is about mental health, and what we try to do is prevent people getting to that struggle in the first place. So I think the clue's in the name. It is a habit, but if you're patient and persistent enough with something, it will become a good habit.
Yeah.
If you want to try something new, try it. Don't just... so for example, you want to try and get a new good habit by exercising 15 minutes on one, 15 on a night, which would be brilliant for you. After the first day, you might, I can't be bothered with this. It won't become a habit unless, like you say, and you've got them 60 days that you need to keep trying it and keep doing it. And once it becomes a habit, it's a good one. You're not going to break it.
Yeah, and the key thing, so habits. There's a cycle to habit formation, and a good habit. Trying to form a new good habit is something that you would do for your future self.
Aye.
It's not something that you're doing now. You need to think, who is the person that I want to be?
You need to visualise that success, don't you?
Exactly.
That's what you're saying.
Yeah, you need to be looking into the future and thinking, who do I want to be? And I mentioned this in one of the first podcasts it was the second one, about when I was talking about manifesting and looking at the roadmap, creating it yourself, understanding where you want to be and how you're going to get there. Well, this is part of how you get there. How you become that person you want to be is about forming the habits that are going to get you there. So everything that you do, you need to have that thought in your head that I can't be bothered to do this now, but I know I'm going to benefit from it in a month's time, which is hard as people, and especially in this day and age, we are conditioned for instant rewards. We love chocolate because it tastes lush. You like, you like takeaway food because it tastes amazing. You like to watch things on telly that give you instant gratification. We don't... the majority of us, it's just...
Like you say,
we want an instant hit.
That's what we want.
We want instant success, and everybody does, and if we could all get something that gives you that instant success, then great. We wouldn't be sitting here on this podcast,
No.
And this is how bad habits are formed. You want that buzz, I'll drink. You want to feel alive, I'll gamble. I'll take drugs, and you get yourself in situations whereby there are seriously negative outcomes.
Yeah, and no high is going to be better than...
No.
Sorry, no high is worth the low that you're going to get from it.
No, definitely not. So there's actually a thing called a habit loop. and this is how any habit works. So you get a cue, you'll get a craving. So a cue might be like, oh, fancy a bit of chocolate. And then you'll start craving chocolate, and then you'll get a response, and then you'll get a reward. So just say...
So you're identifying the bad habits first of all, aren't you?
Yeah.
And then you're identifying the trigger of that bad habit.
Yeah.
So once you know what the trigger is, you need to try and do things that's going to take you away from that trigger point.
Yeah. So essentially, you'll think about it. Oh, maybe that might not be a bad idea. Then you'll start to feel it. You'll start to feel that, maybe it's going out. Oh, I'm going to
fancy doing that.
Like, and then you'll do it, and then you'll feel good for doing it, and then you'll do it again, and that's how your habit forms.
Yeah, exactly.
So, which is when you think about it, if you think about it, now I'm just like kind of talking out loud here. If you think about something that gives you that instant reward. I can't think of any good things that give you that like instant, apart from other than exercise, but you don't get reward at the time. You get an hour of pain.
Well, you think about do it to get stronger and better, don't you?
Yeah, in the longer term, if you think about, I don't know, what gives you. I'll talk about this because I don't think I've ever even spoken to you about this before.
Go on, that's out.
I don't anymore. I suppose probably always have. I used to have a really bad gambling addiction.
Right.
Like bad, like thousands and thousands, and it was since I was like 16-year-old.
Yeah.
And if you think about why did I used to gamble? Because like the high you get is unbelievable. When you win a fair amount of money. You think
I'll go with that. I've spent a few quid on the horses and that.
I mean, since I was 16-year-old, I used to get my family allowance. My dad's going to listen to this. Probably he doesn't know this. I used to get my family allowance and go in the bookies, and it'd be gone. I wasn't even old enough to be in the bookies. I used to be a glass collector. I'd get me 30 quid on the weekend, and I'd start at 7 and by 7:30 I either had 60 quid because I dropped the bandit or I had an out. That's just how I've always, I don't anymore, but I've always been wired for that. I just need a buzz all the time, and that's how I always used to be until I started to change my habits. And that took 10 years for me to change. When you think about the cue, I think, something would catch me eye or something would catch your mind. Well, might have a bet, like. And then you think about, actually, the money that you would win, and then you win something and you feel amazing. You have the money, you do it again, but then you lose it. That
could have been the byproduct as well.
Oh, 100%. like 100%, yeah.
Needed like a constant fix of what it was at the time was gone.
Yeah, I was just needed that hit of something all the time. So that's how I used to get it. But obviously, like you said, the lows, Jesus. Like,
it gets out weird completely. The next day you'll just crash.
There's no lows.
You see, you get a couple hundred quid and you got in the bookies. And you get a few up. Oh, champion! I've got 500-600 £600 there. And you saw how quickly you can just wax that lot in, and it's gone.
Oh, easy!
And the crash next year.
Oh, it was horrendous. One of the worst lows I've ever had in my life. For when I'd used to gamble madly, like proper bad. But I didn't. I did this just in secret, really, for like years.
So at that point in your life when you were just gambling constantly. Is it fair to say it just took over everything? That's what it was all about. Sammy Boy was a gambler, and that's how it was.
Yeah, absolutely. Nobody really knew. Like I'd like sit me. I lived at home. I'd sit in my bedroom till like 5 o'clock in the morning watching Japanese races. And now I'm laughing now because I've come through the other side. And So
what was the click then? What was the turn? How did you turn that bad habit?
Got to the point. I told my parents.
Aye.
I got so bad, I lost about $4,000 in a day, and
that's a big hit, mate. Jesus, son.
That was Friday of Gold Cup day. I was out on the lash, obviously drunk, and I was like saving for a house with my ex-girlfriend at the time.
Right.
So you can imagine. Once I'd realised all that was... I still had money left in that
as well, did you? Where the money went?
Yeah, it was dark. But she was an absolute angel, you know what I mean? Like, I had a problem. I had a big problem. And I didn't really deal with it that well. But then that was the point. I told her, I said, listen, I hated myself. She could see how much I hated myself. I told my parents that didn't go very well. More because I was so angry. But then I just realised, this is 10 years, I'd been doing things like this. Not this bad.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I think a lot of things I had to change. I had to ban myself from every website going, but the new ones pop up every day anyway. But
that's exactly what, like we said at the start, them 10 of the highest bad habits that people have. You've basically just ticked quite a few of them off. Overindulging, which was the betting, failure to say no, the cutting corners, making decisions when you're angry.
So I used to.
It's easy. It's easy.
Oh, it's all of them.
Horse bet machine.
I just had to.
You bet and bet.
I had to. The biggest thing to like as a fire break, which is a big thing. Obviously, we're not talking about everyone's not going to have habits to this extreme that are looking to break. But initially, the bigged thing is a change of environment. Like for a long time, I just had to not go to the pub on Saturday afternoon because that's when it would start, or a Friday night.
Yeah.
I had to. It was never a.
But your gambling to you was like another man's drink or coke, yeah?
Yeah, no, without a doubt.
You had to stay away from there on the Saturday night.
I had to. And it goes back to what we've spoken about before. I had to fill my life full of other things that I enjoyed, so I didn't want to gamble. You know what I mean? At the time, when I'm talking about me gambling, I'm talking about me being in the band, I'm talking about me not exercising, I'm talking about me not meditating, I'm talking about me not doing anything at all to care about my mental well-being. And when I started to do these things, when I started to look after myself, then I started to realise, what on earth are you doing here? What were you doing there? Like, that was just absolutely ridiculous. And I suppose as I got older, I got more responsibilities. You know, when I was doing all this, I lived at home. If I lost a load of money, I wasn't actually. I mean, I was up in my overdraft here and there, but realistically,
it didn't matter. There was food in the cupboards.
Right, exactly. There was no real repercussions. I'd be skinned for a couple of weeks, lend a bit of money, and I'd do it again. You know what I mean? And that's kind of the cycle that I was in. Because I suppose at the time when I was in the band as well, I wasn't really thinking about the future.
Aye.
Never bothered us. I didn't look past tomorrow. So I wasn't thinking about my future self. I was thinking about now, and that's all I ever thought about, today and tomorrow. Because for me, there was no future other than just being in a band, and I never really thought about anything else other than just. That's all I thought about.
Aye.
And it wasn't until I started looking longer term, it wasn't until I started looking after myself, it wasn't until I really had something to lose, you know, and I was saving money for a house. And then I realised, bloody hell, all that hard work that I'd done to save all that money, both gone. 4 hours. Lashed up in a workman's club.
How much do you think you spent all together?
Oh, tens of thousands.
Aye.
Easy.
It's a tough one, but you like to see, you've got the other side of it, haven't you?
I've got the other side of it. Do you only think, when you look back and think about the money you spent on drinking the years, and yeah, I don't regret that because I've had some incredible times when I've been away with my mates. And I
try not to look backwards because I'm not going that way.
No, you're right.
If you do now and then, it's frightening.
Well, what I'm saying is, when I look back at all that money I spent gambling, I got nothing from it. Like nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. So, but like I say, that probably the biggest thing, which is factual when it comes to habits as well, is changing your environment. I had to stop going out and having a drink this afternoon. Like I had to do something else, otherwise
which is hard in a small village when the only social place to be is in the Weapons Club or in the pub with the lads.
I had to fill my life full of things that I enjoyed other than gambling.
Yeah.
You know, and then once I started to enjoy other things, then I started to stop relying on gambling to make us feel good, which is what we've been saying for the past 2 weeks. Find things in your life that you enjoy doing and that give you this buzz. You know, when I come out of the gym, I'm buzzing.
Aye.
I'm really buzzing, I am. And I get that now. And doing things like this, you know, I love it. I love having things to look forward to. So it was when my life was kind of band, drink, work. If the band wasn't going great, if we were quiet, because I'd always have the band, like the buzz of being on stage, the buzz of recording, the buzz of moving forward, and that's probably a lot to do with it as well. You know, I was ups and downs associated with the life that I was living at the time.
Yeah.
When I would go for like prolonged periods when I wasn't ups, I'd find it somewhere. And a lot of the time, I'd find it in gambling.
One of my worst habits was probably, it wasn't gambling, but it's along the same lines as I didn't have a penny because I overspent. I constantly overspent. When I felt stressed and down. And it's like you say, it's like quick fix. What's going to make you feel better? Oh, I'm going to go and spend a few quid on something. Being skint constantly. That was one of my worst habits. I couldn't save a penny. Every penny I had to go and enjoy myself with it. I wouldn't keep a hold of nothing. Yeah. And also, again, another bad habit was negative talk. I was convinced myself that I wasn't good enough to do something, and that negative thought in your head, that negative vibe that you give yourself on a daily basis, it'll just grind you down completely, which leads to the gambling, which leads to the drugs, which leads to the alcohol, which leads to spending money. So for me, a habit was just that, the negative thought. I had to break. That's what I had to break. I had to switch it on its head. Stop being so negative about myself. Start to trust myself that I could get myself out of the situation as quickly as I got myself into it.
Yeah.
Albeit it wasn't as quick as I would have liked.
Yeah, well, it never is, isn't it? No, very easy to get hooked, isn't it?
Yeah, like it was. I think there's a lot to be said for negative thought. Like all habits stem from a negative thought process, I think.
Yeah, no.
And if you can break that cycle with yourself, and that's easy enough said. I know lads who's good kids and they go to work all day and they just want to enjoy themselves on the weekend.
Oh, I see.
And who am I, you to try and say it to people where you shouldn't really do that? Of course, we do it ourselves. Everyone goes out and enjoys themselves. It's not a bad habit in itself, but it's getting that time scale.
Balance.
What you do, right?
It's just balance. It's how that affects the individual. You know, if they're doing that and then are still happy with themselves and the family's happy and if they're doing it in the balance with it, they might go on Saturday afternoon, get bladder, then get up, take the kids out all day Sunday, spend all day Friday, the jobs, and it's balance.
Are you in a position where you could go and put a bet on again?
Aye. Genuinely aye. So I still go to Cheltenham so I would allow myself. So this, I probably really cracked it about 7 years ago, and I never touched it for a long time. But then I still went to Cheltenham every year. I never stopped going to Cheltenham.
I do like the horse racing, like.
I never stopped going to Cheltenham, and I don't know. Once I'd cracked it, and once I'd gone months and months and months without thinking about it, and had all these other good things in place, I just didn't want to put myself in that position again. I could go and enjoy the racing, and I actively try not to bet now because there's just no point. I don't do it enough anymore. But
there's only one winner, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. So I can't put a bet on now. I don't. For must have been 6-7 years, I never had an online betting account because that was my problem. My problem's online because it's just numbers. So, but I do have one now, but it's got a £20 limit on and I hardly use it. There's times like I used to love, so Boxing Day we go out, me and you, all the lads, we go to Glen, we watch a racing, we watch a football, and there's been years I've gone down there, like that I would always allow myself a bet on Boxing Day. Yeah, because you've got to think about that's the environment that we're in, and I love that day. But there was years I went down and never even had a bet, just because the crowd was mint. I wasn't really wasn't that bothered. I just think once you get out the other side and you see the negative impact it had, you think, I don't even want to put myself in that situation again. I've worked too hard to be back there.
So how do you think? It's a tough one. How do you advise a friend who's got a bad habit?
Look at the negative side of it.
Right.
Like when you're wrapped up in a habit, gambling per se, all you think is, "Right, I'm skinned. I could win money and I could get myself out of it." And it's like looking back at a relationship that you've just come out of. You tend to only when it's raw.
What stopped me from a habit was just seeing someone else with the same habit, and when I saw someone with the same habit, and I thought, "Do I look like that?"
Do you know what?
And then something just clicked with me, and I thought, if that's how I look to people, I'd rather not have the habit.
I'm not going to go into it because it's not mine at all, but the probably I've never thought of that, but I've had friends who have got into it a lot worse than what I did.
Yeah. And
maybe's in the back of my mind, maybe's that's, and it was similar times. Maybe that's part of it as well, but what would I advise somebody? Well, what are you trying to do? Like what you've come to a point now where you've recognised that this is not good for you. Right, let's talk about what's not good for you. Like I'm falling out with my friends, I'm talking about my girlfriend, I'm losing all my money, and try and think about those things all the time. Try and think about when you're doing this bad habit, what's the environment that you're in? Get out of that environment. There's a study.
A bad habit is usually a bad environment.
Yeah, it absolutely is. So there's a book which a lot of my facts are coming out of, right? Which we'll put a link in. It's called Atomic Habits, and it is a very, 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 very good book by James Clear, I think it's by. And there was a stat. And there's a stat. It was about the war in Vietnam. Obviously, in Vietnam, there was a lot of opioids available. And most of the soldiers, there's loads of, I should have these numbers, but I don't. And the soldiers basically, because of the environment they were in, because they were in a war, because they were in the trenches with the mates, a way of socialising, a way of escaping was to take heroin.
Yeah.
That's what they did. Took all these opioids, and that's the way they did. And there was a stat, I think it's like 70% of people who have been addicted to those kinds of drugs reoffend.
Yeah.
Or 80%, probably even higher. But all of these people, I think, of all of these people who were addicted to the drug, of all of them, when they got home, there was like 10% reoffended because they just weren't in that.
Because they got out of that environment.
Because they got out in that environment.
I think I remember reading that somewhere.
It's this book's incredible. Like, if you're looking to change a habit, I couldn't. It's by James Clear. Atomic Habits: Tiny Changes, Remarkable Results. And I read it, and I was just kind of. It was an incredible book and a great read, and you hear all sorts of. It breaks it down into ways that are actually that you think about applying it to yourself. And one of the things when you're talking about breaking down habits and creating new ones, it's all about the small things, the small habits that make a big difference. It's not just about one big bang. I'm going to stop smoking. What are all the cues that make you smoke? Is it when you're stressed? Well, if it's when you're stressed, you need to manage your stress somehow.
Yeah, identifying the trigger.
Identify the triggers and then try to put something in place so you kind of swerve in those triggers.
And then visualise yourself in a different situation, in a successful situation from the trigger.
Yeah. And if you think about when you smoke, a lot of people say, I only smoke when I drink. Well, why do you smoke when you drink? Because it's the environment that you're in. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
That's what it is.
It is. If you're trying to... It's... So if you wanted to start going to the gym, now I think if you were going to try exercising, I did it by myself because it was lockdown. To be fair, that's why I did it by myself. Go to a gym where there's classes and there's other people available, so you're held accountable, and you look at other people who are doing the work as well, and you're thinking, bloody hell, they're amazing. That's what I do. I go to a CrossFit gym. It's not a CrossFit affiliate gym because
I think you always train hard as well when you're in a group.
We do.
On your own.
Gym I go to is called Apex Ability Gym in Harelaw, because if I say it's a CrossFit gym and they're listening, I'll get it really wrong. And for me, that changed. That was massive for me because I look at them in the gym, I look at how well they're doing and how strong they are and how fit they are, and I think, well, I want to be that strong and fit. So you go back and you keep going back and you keep going back, and it's that accountability, and it's because you're surrounding yourself. I'm in this new environment full of strong, fit people, and it makes me want to be strong and fit.
It's a big part of breaking a habit is having a support network as well. Mm-hmm. Something like support around you. If you're trying to get away from an old habit, and your whole habit involves everything that you used to know, everything that you've always done for your adult life, then you need to be in a different habit with a support group there. Yeah, way better place in the gym or around friends that aren't doing the bad habits.
Exactly. Yeah.
Seeing all the booties. You go to the booties, you're going to put a bet on, aren't you?
It's as simple as that.
Just keep it away.
Yeah.
I mean, it's easier said than done. A lot of people, sometimes a habit crosses the boundary and it becomes an addiction.
Well, there is that, and I suppose that's why talking about habits in this light is hopefully what we're going to do and stop people from. I mean, we delved into addiction mainly because of me talking about addiction, and it's not necessarily where we thought it would go, but in talking about it, we've understood.
I think it's important to say as well, everyone will always have a bad habit. You'll never
kill it.
You'll never be all good habits. Everyone's going to have them bad things.
Yeah, I mean, I know. My bad habits is I go out on a Saturday afternoon, and I love going out on a Saturday afternoon. But bad habit of mine is there's a level when I should stop and go home, and there's a level I don't go home.
I can fall into a bad habit where if I don't keep on the right track and the right path, I'm self-employed, so there's no one kicking me up the arse to get out the door in the morning. Right. And if you overindulge on a weekend or whatever, or you don't keep training or keep on top of yourself, it is easy to just drop back behind. I'm not bothered. I'm not doing this today, and then staying in the house becomes a bad habit. Not going to work can become that bad habit. Yeah. It's worth saying as well, a habit, what it snowballs from it.
Yeah.
That bad habit will it will never just stay at that one thing. It will always snowball into something else, and then before you know it, you're up shit creek. Like,
yeah,
So I definitely change your habits.
Like I can count like things. What can we talk about? A relatable bad habit, the one say like things that I've noticed and then I've had to stop. Like a few years ago, I wasn't going through a very good time. I'd gone out on a Saturday, wake up on a Sunday rough.
I'm back to the club Sunday afternoon.
So I'd gone back to the club on Sunday afternoon, get smashed. I'd wake up rough on a Monday morning, would be late for work or wouldn't go to work. Do the same again next week, do the same again next week. And then I'm thinking, oh no.
Then you get the sack and you wonder why.
Exactly. And then I'm starting to think, I'm just conscious enough that I'm thinking, I still got everything done and nobody really mentioned anything to us, but I know in my head, I'm thinking, this is not right. I need to pack this in.
You're a functioning silly man.
I'm just an absolute moron and I need to stop doing this. So it's just small things like that where you think, but it's about checking yourself. It's about knowing, like, this is getting out of hand. I need to change. So I've got some actual... So this is from the book, Atomic Habits, right?
Yep.
So how to create, there's 4 laws which is the cue, craving, response, reward, which is what I mentioned before. So how to create a good habit, right? Make it obvious. So that's step 1, that's the cue, make an obvious cue about how to, so basically if you're looking to, I don't know, so maybe if you want to get up in the morning and you want to,
If I want to get up in the morning early to go and train, I
Yeah.
go for a jog at 5, 6 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. So here's the one. Yeah. So you saying, right, I want to get up in the morning and I want to go for a run. So you make it obvious. So you wake up in the morning, you have all your gear laid down on your bed, you have your shoes by the door. You make everything as easy as possible on that morning for you to get up and you to go for that run.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's the cue. The second law is craving. Make it attractive. So what you've got to make it as appealing to yourself as possible.
Buy yourself some new running shoes or something.
Well, yeah, great idea. That's not what I'm saying, but no, that's
Catch
great.
yourself in the mirror when you've done it.
No, but we're trying to form a good habit here, so you haven't got any of that. Yeah. So the first law is cue, make it obvious. The second law is craving, make it attractive. So a cue as well. So if you were to say how you can do both of those things. Say you want to get up in the morning, you're trying to take multivitamins, or you're trying to take a nice drink that makes you feel better, or whatever they are. I don't know what you call them. No, them.
I know what you're talking about.
You know, them greens and all that kind of thing. You could attach it to another habit. So now if you come in the morning and you have a cup of coffee, then have one of these at the same time that you would always have your coffee.
Yeah.
If you're trying to wake up in the morning and have a cold shower, have your cold shower after your hot shower. Yeah. Make it easy. So this goes back to what I was saying there. So if you're trying to make yourself go to the gym in the morning, get everything ready the night before, make it as easy as possible for you to get out of that bed in the morning, have the heating on, put things there ready, make it as hard for you to say no as possible for it to do your new habit. And the final one, which is the reward, make it satisfying. So how do you do that with an exercise? Well, with an exercise, if it's exercise, then make it satisfying. That'll come from the feeling you get when you're back.
Come from the feeling you get it. You can put yourself a reward chart up where you can time yourself over a week and watch yourself progress. Yeah, getting quicker, getting stronger. Or
it can be you're trying to wake up in the morning, have a healthy breakfast. In a week's time, you can weigh yourself and you see. You can see that you've done it and that it's having a positive impact on you. So those first law, the key, so it's your cue, your craving, your response, and your reward, and it is make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy, and make it satisfying. And how to break a bad habit is make it invisible. So if you wake up in the morning, if you're trying to stop drinking coffee, which I don't know why I would, 'cause it's amazing, but that's an example. Hide the coffee. If you're trying to your bad habits, get in the morning, have a cigarette. Hide the tabs before you go to bed in the night. Get rid of them. Yeah. Make it unattractive. I don't know. If you're maybe trying to lose weight and you don't want to have a big breakfast on the morning that you would normally do, or you're trying to stop snacking, make it unattractive. I don't know. Put a photo of yourself that you don't like.
Yeah.
Or whatever. I don't know. I'm trying to think of something there. Just said unattractive. So. Inversion of the third law. So response, make it difficult. So another thing, if you're trying to pack the tabs in, make it invisible. By making it invisible, you've also made it difficult. Make it as difficult as possible for you to do whatever it is that you need to do.
Don't buy them, don't let them know.
Yeah. And make it unsatisfying. I don't know. You do that, like if you love having a tab, you have a tab. It's going to be satisfying, isn't it?
Yeah, I've got something similar. It was on the Berkeley's page. So the first one was identify the bad habit, which we spoke about. If you know you're doing it, you know what the bad habit is. What we were saying there just before, smoking. So you're smoking, that's a bad habit. Identify the trigger. What makes you want to have the cigarette? Well, you're stressed, or you got a craving for one. So you identify the trigger. Well, I know where it is. It's a craving that I'm getting from not having a cigarette, or it's a situation I put myself in that's caused the stress that makes me want to have the cigarette. Then what we do is we cut out as many of the triggers that we can. So if we know that a certain situation is bringing on that feeling, we'll try and remove ourselves from it, which is sometimes easier said than done. Brings on to number 4, replace the bad habit, which is what we're trying to do in the first place.
Some of it you can look at it, you can read it and think, well, how do I do this? Like
but it finishes on saying finding support, which is, I think it's crucial. Like, it doesn't matter what you're doing. If you've got a good support network around you, it's 10 times easier, man. Yeah. Visualize the success. Be patient but persistent. Keep doing it. Keep going at it. Find something good. I mean, you'll constantly throughout your life, I think, will just always be trying to find a good habit to do, and there'll always be bad habits that creep in on you. It's not something you just get right overnight and it's gone. It's something that you're going to work with the whole of your life. Yeah.
I'm looking at something here that's kind of broken out, so that make it obvious, make it attractive. It's broke it down a little bit. So by making it obvious, you can say I will do something instead of I might.
Yeah.
I will do this in the morning. Use habit stacking, which is what I said. So after a certain habit, after something you normally always do, tag something on the back of it. So if you're saying, right, I don't know, if you get up, say if you're going to have a cold shower, have it after your hot shower, because you always have that hot shower. Try and tag something on the back of it, and design your environment to make the cues of good habits obvious and visible. So you put yourself, like, say it's a new environment, you put yourself somewhere, or you make your environment in the morning as good as possible to make you want to go for that run. So if you wake up in the morning and it's freezing cold in the house, you're going outside and it's dark, you're not going to want to go for a run. Try and make the house as warm as possible and as light as possible, so you're then more motivated to go for a run.
Yeah.
You got to make it attractive. So use temptation bundling, pair an action you want to do with an action you need to do. And this next one goes back to the gym. So join a culture where your desired behaviour is the normal behaviour. So if you wanting to be exercising all the time and be fit and healthy, join a gym where people are fit and healthy, and you'll be more likely to continue doing what you were doing. Create a motivation rule. Do something you enjoy immediately before a difficult habit. So if you're trying to form a new habit, do something that you love to do before it.
Right. So you're in the right headspace. Really.
Yeah. So maybe you'll maybe think, I've got to do that, but I get to do that before it. So then that habit's getting ingrained in you, but the negative aspect of it's kind of the edge is taken off it. So then we've got make it easy, reduce friction, decrease the number of steps between you and your good habits. So the easier this good habit is, the more available it is to you, the more likely you are to do it. Prepare your environment to make the future actions easier. We've been through that. Optimize the small choices that deliver the overall goal. So all those little things that you put in place, make them easy. Downscale your habits until they can be done in 2 minutes or less. I'm reading from my iPad here, so I don't necessarily understand all of these. I'm trying to make it easier for everybody else. Automate your habits. Now, this is a good one. Invest in technology and one-time purchases that lock in future behaviours. And then the last one's make it satisfying. Give yourself an immediate reward when you complete your habit, which is, that's kind of, you're trying to replace a habit that does give you an immediate reward with another habit that also gives you an immediate reward that maybe doesn't have the negative impact. Make doing nothing enjoyable. That's very good. That's relevant.
I enjoy doing nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I love it. I think that's what.
But you got to be careful. Just go to procrastination.
Yeah.
That could also be a bad habit.
Yeah. But it is that though. Like I suppose when I look back at why I would bet, because I'd sit and I couldn't do nothing.
Yeah.
Now I can sit and just watch telly. It's mint, because I don't get to do it very often. So I'd need something all the time. Whereas I don't need that now, and that's maybe so I'm obviously just in a better place. So that's a good thing. Use a habit tracker. So I mean, like before the gig, I was trying to lose me festive timber because I knew I'd have my top off.
I think you did, to be fair. Like I seen you with your top off at the gig. You're looking Connie Nick, like son.
Thank you, Dean.
I know, all right, aye.
So I was using a calorie tracker to count which calories, and it would tell us like you've hit your goal the X amount of days in a row, stuff like that. I only did it for 2 weeks and I had a pizza and hot wings and everything the day after the gig. So never miss twice. When you forget to do a habit, make sure you get back on track immediately. So I mean, these are all from that book that I spoke about, which is Atomic Habits by James Clear, and I would recommend reading it.
I think I'm definitely going to give it a read because I think you're like years ahead of me when it comes to any sort of knowledge on habits. I wasn't aware of half the stuff you've come up with, to be honest. I think the book would be a good read.
Yeah, it's class. I listened to an audiobook, to be honest, when I was...
It feels like one of them podcasts where I'd just rather sit back and listen like the audience, to be honest. I've enjoyed listening to what you've got to say.
It's one of those, like... I know how important it is, so that's why I try and just learn as much about it as possible.
Yeah.
And I know how susceptible I am to succumbing to bad habits. I know how easy it is, and I know how.
It's. I mean, when you've got an addictive personality, everything's just easy, isn't it?
I have such a Moorish personality.
I can fall in the traps on a daily basis. Like I'm sure a lot of people are the same. Like it doesn't take a lot.
Nah. Doesn't,
but that little bit of self-monitoring.
Yeah, I think it goes back, right? I think everything we've spoke about on every podcast so far goes back to filling your life full of things that you love and enjoy.
Yeah.
The more you fill your life full of things you love and enjoy, the less you will be inclined to do things that have bad outcomes on your life. The more you are looking after yourself, the less you're going to put yourself in situations to put you to where you're going to have a negative outcome.
Yeah.
The more aware you're going to be.
I always went through thinking everything in life that was good was bad for you.
Yeah.
Be drinking or drugs or extreme sports and stuff like that.
Yeah.
All in some sort of way was gonna hurt you. But now I've sort of flipped it on its head. I don't think that way anymore.
Yeah, I think, it's just balance, isn't it?
The pleasures in life don't have to be a bad habit now.
No.
I suppose was what I'm trying to say.
No, you're dead right. You're dead right. And I'm not saying we go out on a Saturday afternoon, sometimes Sunday afternoon as well. We like a drink, and for me, perpetual, because of who I am, because of what I am, and my nature, I'm a very up and downy person. So balance is something that I strive for on a daily basis. Even now, I'm sitting here in this podcast and I'm talking about it and trying to help people. I haven't got it under control.
No.
I'm a lot better than I used to be.
I certainly haven't got it under control, but I'm a lot, like you say, a lot better than I used to be.
I recognise when I'm a bit out of kilter. I know what I need to do to get myself back, but I'm in the occasions where I am just a bit ajar, a fewer than what they used to be. And I'm more aware now.
Also, I think you're in a better position now to identify that trigger straight away, and you can see what's happening. You can get a hold of that habit by the neck when you feel it creeping in.
Yeah.
Whereas before, with the gambling, for example, you'd have just run with it.
Oh, aye.
So yeah, you're doing something right, mate.
Yeah. So are you.
That's right.
Well, mate, we're 48 minutes in. That has absolutely flown over.
Aye, that's aye.
Considering that we had a few points and haven't planned this as much as we normally do. I'm going to hold it tomorrow.
We tried to make it a little bit more.
We've had a bad week.
A bit more fact checking. But it's like you say, it's been a rough week as well.
We've had a rough week. I'm going away tomorrow, so we've kind of had to get it in, and we haven't had as much time to prepare as we probably usually would. But I think we've covered what we needed to cover.
Yeah. So I'll be slamming the door shut, am I? On the shed.
Oh no! I forgot about this. Bollocks.
Did I've got two here? Like, I've got a random one here, but I'll keep it on. So it's my turn to ask Sam a question.
Yeah.
My question to Sammy is: what is the most unexpected random piece of advice you ever received?
Jesus Christ. I can't remember yesterday.
It can be from anyone or anything.
Oh, mate, that is an unbelievable question. The most unexpected random bit of advice.
Something that's stuck with you. It's got you stumped, hasn't it?
It has, and one bit of advice, I don't know if it's advice, but something I've lived my whole life by, and someone said it to us when I was about 4-year-old, and I think they've regretted it ever since, was when my dad told us, you're a free spirit, son, you do what you want. And that's how I've lived my life.
There's no wrong with that.
Don't know if it's advice, but my dad always said to me, you're a free spirit, son, you do what you want. And I think he's lived to regret that for every day ever since. Because I was always a little bit too much of a free spirit, Dean. But I don't know, that's the first thing that comes to mind. Obviously, that's quite a profound question, and I'm probably going to ask you the same thing at some point in the future. But I've had so much advice, and actually not so much advice, probably... I've read a lot of things that have been kind of like advice.
I've had plenty of advice. It hasn't always been the right advice. But I've had plenty of
always be dubious with the way you're receiving your advice. We had this conversation this week at the meeting.
We said, sorry getting advice of people, but you just got to look at the state of
the people that are giving you that advice.
Who've given it sometimes.
All right, then. Well, that has been our longest podcast. Yes, 50 minutes.
We're going to be you're away next week, aren't you?
Yeah, but this will still be out as usual. Aye. So this is Friday. It's going out on Wednesday. I'll mix it very quickly I'll probably mix this on a flight to Fuerteventura.
Very nice.
Go me.
And I'll be listening on a roof in Whittinghill.
Couldn't happen to a nicer lad, mate. Right, anyway, yeah, this has been episode 3, and the next one, I don't know what it's about, but we're going to continue with the themes of...
Yeah, we'll pick another topic next time, and I might hit you with the facts next time. We'll let Sam take a box a little bit.
Thank you, mate. Right, I've been Sam.
Yeah, I'm Dean. Thanks very much for listening.
Yeah, cheers.
Cheers, bye.